The elements of the ocean model are interconnected instead of being standalone traits. Ozer and Bennett Martinez argue that on the one hand, personality dispositions are strong determinants of subjective well-being. On the other hand, demographic and contextual factors, including social class, employment, marital status, sex, and age, minimally affect subjective well-being. The authors explain, and I quote, "Subjective well-being is strongly predicted by personality traits that are largely a function of temperament, that is, extroversion and neuroticism, and moderately predicted by personality dispositions significantly driven by environmental influences, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and openness to experience." Openness to experience is associated with increased likelihood of assuming leadership roles. Soto and colleagues maintain that openness positively influences learning and creativity outcomes. Open people are more likely to pursue technical, scientific, and artistic careers. On the flip side, open people present greater likelihood of engaging in drug abuse and holding liberal beliefs. Openness influences the ability to generate new ideas, learn new skills, and embrace universal values that promote peace and equality. Roccas and colleagues associate openness with self-direction and universalism values. On the one hand, self-direction refers to the autonomy of thought and action, which informs the desire to try new ideas and experiences. On the other hand, universalism encompasses being tolerant of people, ideas, beauty, and the environment in general. Highly open individuals are imaginative, sensitive, and intellectual. Openness conflicts with conformity, traditionalism, and security because they, in a way, prohibit trying new things. The action facet of openness correlates strongly with stimulation, aesthetics with universalism, and fantasy or idea with self-direction. Openness correlates negatively with power, that is, controlling the social and material environment. Shretlin and colleagues link openness to a wide range of skills and knowledge, thereby promoting creativity and originality. Particularly, the authors argue, and I quote, "Openness correlated more strongly with verbal or crystallized intelligence than with executive functioning and fluency. Openness is more closely associated with the acquisition of broad verbal intellectual skills and knowledge than with executive abilities." Schaefer and colleagues associate openness with accuracy and confidence because highly open individuals seek out learning opportunities. Mutofi and colleagues explain that highly open people are motivated to engage in intellectual activities, thereby being able to increase their crystallized intelligence. Crystallized intelligence refers to the degree to which individuals absorb culture. The primary elements include skills and knowledge. Fluid intelligence is defined as prompt reasoning that is not based on experience and includes things like quick thinking or approaching new problems. Solges and Valiant argue that openness to experience is the least likely personality to change in individuals because open people are more welcoming to exploration. The authors argue that openness, extroversion, and neuroticism exhibit long-term correlation. Noteworthy, openness relates positively to psychiatric usage and creativity, while the relationship is negative with conservative political attitudes. Openness presents a weak relationship with neuroticism and extroversion, while it is not related to agreeableness and conscientiousness. Soto and colleagues argue that conscientiousness is the strongest predictor of academic and professional success. Conscientious students register high grades, while conscientious employees engage in productive behavior and excel in various professions. Conscientiousness is also linked to positive overall health because of the increased likelihood of undertaking healthy behaviors, such as dieting and exercising. Conscientious people are also more likely to be religious, hold conservative beliefs, and maintain pro-social behaviors. Solges and Valiant explain that conscientiousness in college is the best predictor of life course functioning, primarily owing to its association with adjustment to life changes and mature defensive responses. This explanation is also based on the fact that conscientiousness is associated with careful planning and self-control that reduces the risk of antisocial and unhealthy behaviors. Roccas and colleagues link conscientiousness to conformity, security, the pursuit of security, and achievement, while the personality does not present any relationship with excitement. The authors argue that conscientious people prioritize order, achievement and self-discipline because they deliberately work towards optimizing their competence. The authors also draw a positive relationship between conscientiousness and agreeableness. Conscientiousness correlates negatively with addiction-related behaviors, such as drinking and smoking, neuroticism, and mental health issues that require psychiatric treatment. Barrick and colleagues' study of 1993 uncovered, and I quote, "Sales representatives high in conscientiousness are more likely to set goals and are more likely to be committed to goals, which in turn is associated with greater sales volume and higher supervisory ratings of job performance." Results also showed that conscientiousness is directly related to supervisory ratings. Consistent with previous research, results showed that ability was also related to supervisory ratings of job performance and, to a lesser extent, sales volume. Motivation is defined as the combined effects of three choice behaviors, including the choice to spend effort, the choice of the level of effort to spend, and the choice to consistently spend the effort. Conscientious people are highly motivated, and as such, end up setting difficult goals. Barrick and Mount explain that conscientiousness and emotional stability are the best predictors of individuals' long-term motivation, disposition, and subsequent work behaviors. However, Reiter-Palmon and colleagues argue that conscientiousness is not always a positive predictor of performance, especially in the case of creative performance. As mentioned before, conscientiousness focuses mostly on achievement and dependability. Reiter-Palmon and colleagues assert that the relationship between the achievement component and creative performance is positive, while the relationship is negative for the dependability component. The overall study found that conscientiousness is not related to creativity. This finding is supported by Mutofi and colleagues, who report a negative relationship between conscientiousness and intelligence. The authors argue, and I quote, "Conscientiousness, control, was significantly negatively correlated with abstract reasoning, fluid intelligence, but not with verbal reasoning, crystallized intelligence." This was interpreted as indicating that the negative relationship between intelligence and conscientiousness is due to fluid intelligence affecting the development of conscientiousness in an educated and need-achieving population. Woods and colleagues associate conscientiousness with training proficiency and learning outcomes. Noteworthy, conscientious people are highly motivated to commit to training, have stronger learning intentions, and work harder because they are industrious, responsible, and dutiful. Extroverts are generally sociable, active, and excitable. Soto and colleagues observe that extroversion predicts interpersonal relationship outcomes, social status, number of dating partners, and the likelihood of relationship satisfaction. Extroverts perform well in enterprise and social occupations, and are more likely to assume leadership positions compared to introverts. Extroverts also tend to have higher self-esteem, better emotional resilience or coping strategies, and report greater general well-being. According to Ozer and Bennett Martinez, the link between personality dispositions and subjective well-being mainly point to the relations between certain largely genetic, affective or cognitive traits related to neuroticism and extroversion, for example, positive and negative affect, optimism, self-esteem, and the way individuals appraise and react to environmental rewards and punishment. Individuals who are high on extroversion and low on neuroticism are generally optimistic in appraising environmental situations. Rockers and colleagues argue that extroverted people value stimulation and achievement, while they do not value conformity or traditional values. Extroversion informs the pursuit of goal stimulation, challenge of novelty, excitement, and pleasurable experiences. Solds and Valiant associate extroversion with high income, conservative beliefs, flexible adjustment to challenges, productive social relationships, and personality stability over one's lifetime. Ozer and Bennett Martinez argue that the stability presented by extroversion informs individuals' well-being and effective functioning. Woods and colleagues assert that conscientiousness, openness and extroversion predicted performance on simulation-based training outcome measures but not pencil and paper tests during the training program. Conscientiousness and extroversion were correlated with post-training declarative and procedural learning under certain training conditions, indicating some treatment effects of the training delivery methodology. Barrick and Mount observe that extroversion predicts leadership and contributes to success in various professions, such as sales and management. Verdun and Brands associate extroversion with increased frequency, intensity, and duration of positive emotion. Thus, extroversion presents a positive relationship with openness and a negative one with neuroticism. Schaefer and colleagues link extraversion with overconfidence in task performance. Overconfidence in this case refers to judgmental errors that occur when people overestimate their accuracy levels. Overconfidence is also defined as the positive difference between accuracy and confidence. Extraversion predicts overconfidence because confidence is unmatched by greater accuracy. Judge and colleagues' study of 2002 uncovered that extraversion was the strongest correlate of leadership, including emergence and effectiveness. Soto and colleagues explain that agreeable people tend to be likable, and as such, they enjoy positive social relationships. On the one hand, the likelihood of being liked implies that agreeable people enjoy better dating lives and relationship satisfaction. On the other hand, disagreeable people experience rejection and bullying in the process of forming social relationships. Agreeable people thrive in collaborative situations, thereby being more likely to become volunteers in communities and less likely to engage in criminal behavior. According to Rockes and colleagues, agreeable people value conformity, while they shy away from power, achievement, and by extension, the pursuit of selfish interests. The conformity element of agreeableness is motivated by the desire to fulfill social norms and the genuine concern over the welfare of others. Oza and Bennett Martinez assert that agreeable people report positive relationships because of the likelihood of expressing gratitude and forgiveness, attain their desired jobs, even though they are less creative, and tend to live longer lives. Solges and Valiant explain that highly agreeable people possess strong social support systems, thereby making it easier to transition through possible midlife crises. Agreeable people tend to focus more on interpersonal relationships as opposed to achievement, and as such, they are likely to miss out on learning and development opportunities. Solges and Valiant associate agreeableness with lack of competitive drive. Agreeableness has a weak correlation with extraversion, a positive one with conscientiousness, and a negative one with neuroticism. According to Soto and colleagues, neuroticism is a significant predictor of negative life outcomes, including low satisfaction people's careers, unhappiness, diminished security in interpersonal relationships, and increased risk of conflict. The frequency and severity of negative emotions in neurotic individuals reduces their ability to cope with negative life events, thereby increasing the risk of experiencing mental health problems such as clinical depression and anxiety disorders. Verdun and Brands link neuroticism to extended periods of negative emotions. Rockes and colleagues argue that neuroticism does not have a relationship with goal achievement. The authors maintain that impulsiveness negatively relates to conformity and tradition. The depression characteristic of neuroticism minimizes the likelihood of attaining positive social or personal outcomes. Solges and Valiant argue that neuroticism is negatively associated with quitting addictive behavior, treating mental health issues, and healthy life adjustments, especially in early adult years. Neuroticism is the best correlate during late midlife because of being a consequence of penetrating gender vulnerabilities to alcoholism and depression. Judge and colleagues observe that neuroticism negatively affects individuals' self-esteem and self-efficacy, which reduce job performance by negatively affecting the motivation to achieve. Judge and Illies argue that the lack of self-efficacy and motivation contribute to vulnerability and instability. The authors maintain, and I quote, neuroticism was negatively related to each of the theoretical perspectives on performance motivation. The negative emotion components of neuroticism guide conformity to social norms and reduce the motivation and desire for achievement. The impulsiveness components of neuroticism are related to the inability to delay gratification. Neuroticism has a negative relationship with all the other personality traits. All in all, emotional instability contributes to poor job performance, unhealthy life adjustments, and increased likelihoods of being an addict. Changing neurotic tendencies focuses largely on building self-confidence. Mutofi and colleagues observe that neuroticism has a negative relationship with intelligence, owing to the anxiety component that impairs intellectual functioning. Barrick and Mount argue that emotional stability and conscientiousness are the strongest predictors of success across various professions.